So now I'm going to share with you why the Ultimatum theme is my absolute favorite go-to theme framework, and you can literally create any design, any layout with simple point and click, drop and drag techniques without writing code or driving yourself nuts. That's why I like this theme the absolute best. And here's a very simple way that we can go about creating custom layouts. So we're going to go back to the Ultimatum template. Now we can just deal with the same template, but then we can build different themes. Now, couple of choices that you have is you can actually choose to, this way we don't reinvent the wheel, we can choose to take an existing layout and then clone that layout and then make changes to that layout. So I'm going to take my basic layout and I'm going to clone that. And let's just call this, I'm going to edit that. So let's call this full width layout version B. Now keep in mind that it's still set up exactly the same way because we simply cloned it. Therefore, it's mimicking exactly what I had before. But I just want to spruce things up. I want to change things up a little bit. First of all, I'm going to keep my slider up on top. That's fine. But what I'd like to do is, let's say down here to the right, I want to put a banner ad for advertising because I'd like to get paid and monetize my website. But I still want to have the default loop up here as well. So how can I go about doing that? Well, one of the things I can do is go back to insert row. Now what makes the Ultimatum theme really cool is you have all different types of scenarios in here. You can basically pick through the type that you want to put. So in this particular case, I'm going to go with a 75%, 25%. Now in my full access A to Z Ultimatum Master course, I share with you how to build custom layouts from scratch. These are your pre-built layouts, which pretty much cover most, but hey, if you want to do something that's very specific and very unique, you can actually build your own, and I go into that in my all-access course for Ultimatum, which of course did I mention you get the software for free. So I'm going to insert that. Now, I'm just saying I don't want to reinvent the wheel, so I'm going to take the WordPress loop and drag it right there. Okay, now whether or not I choose to use this or not, I'm going to decide to delete it. So I'm not going to use that layout at all. Then over here to the right, I'm going to go down to a basic text. Now the advantage of using text is I can put whatever type of HTML code I want to put into there. Now down here underneath this, I'm just going to close this down for a second. I'm going to save that and close that. Now don't confuse closing with deleting. Deleting would delete the widget. So again, how the Ultimatum theme works is theme, child theme, template, row, rows, insert div tag. This is a div tag, this is a div tag, or an HTML article tag, HTML5 article tag. They contain widgets, the widgets contain content. Then that particular layout has to be set up so you can see what you're doing. So in this particular case, I'm going to insert another row, and the row down here, I'm just going to put in a 33% row. Maybe I want to put some text or information down at the bottom. And we're not going to do with a footer, and we'll just say save layout. Okay, now here's what I'd like to do. If I go back to my layout screen, everything is working exactly how I set it up to begin with. Okay, so I'm going to hit the refresh button, and I'm just going to pick my headers page. Okay, now headers page is going to bring up the header information, but still keep my slideshow there. And if I select my multiple page, well, again, I added a new layout. I want to be very clear about this. I added a new layout, but I haven't really done anything with it. So let's go back to theme management. Let's go back to edit layout. And again, if I go back to my layout screen, I do have two layouts. Right now, I'm just using this particular layout. But let's say that I want to benefit from this layout over here to the right. So when I click on that, maybe I want to see some kind of ad. So here's what I can do. Okay, I'm going to go to this layout, but only for a certain type of page. So let's click over here to pages. And let's say when I select the multi-paragraph page, I'm going to edit that for a second. And now I can pick the type of layout that I want to use for that particular page. So based on these choices, I can choose that new version B that we just created and update that. Now, it's only going to trigger that particular layout when I pick this particular page because that's how I decided to set this up. So it's going to pick this full width version B, which you recall has a little area off to the right where I can put a little display ad. So if I view my content, you'll see that there's room over here that I can put a display ad. So let's actually put a display ad over to the right. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to do is get two different types of display ads into our library, and I'm using the same dimensions that AdSense uses. Therefore, they fit in the perspective of the layout of your design, and it just works. I just use the same sizes that AdSense uses to build my display ads. So based on these choices, I'm going to go to Media and add some media to my library. So I'm going to select Files. I'm going to go to my desktop, actually inside my display ads of a folder, and I'm going to select these two files right here. Okay, so I have one that's going to be a footer ad, and if I click on that, okay, it looks like this. Here's my headline footer ad, and I have another ad in here inside my library that could be a sidebar ad, which we'll utilize in just a second. Okay, now here is the absolute simplest way to do that. A little bit of hand coding, but it's actually easier than you think. So we're going to take the URL path right from WordPress. We're going to copy that because keep in mind it took this graphic and put it up on our server using the WordPress media library. So now if I go back here for a second, so here's the back end, here's the front end. So let's go to the front end of my page and view the site. Okay, so what I'd like to do is this. I'm going to go back to my edit theme. In fact, if you recall that was the multiple page layout here. So we're going to go back to our layout theme. And based on these choices, we're going to select the other theme we created a second ago. So we're going to edit that. And if you recall to the right, we simply put a text box in here. Now again, you have to know a little bit of HTML unless there was a widget for that to drag over. Okay, but in this particular case, we'll just do this from scratch. I'm just going to type it in and come right back. Now, if you're really not sure how to write the code for this, you can use a program like Dreamweaver and copy and paste. But at this point, if you're going to get serious about web development, I'm not asking you to write a bunch of code from scratch. But this is a very basic, simple HTML code for images. Now, if you want to put an actual hyperlink in that, you can do that as well. We're just going to keep it really simple. Of course, I go into great detail in my All Access Ultimatum A to Z course, which by the way, did I mention to you guys that the software comes with anyway? So I'm just having a little bit of fun here. All right, so if I save this for a second, now keep in mind that this is going to come up, but it's only going to come up for the pages that we selected for it to come up. So here's what I want to share with you. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to share with you what makes this Ultimatum theme so incredibly powerful. So I can go through page by page and say, okay, this page goes to that layout, and that page goes to this layout, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you can be very sophisticated with that. But here's a different way to look at this. So let's just look at this to say, I'm going to assign a layout to a specific action. So let's say every time a single page post comes up. So what I mean by that is here's my multiple page post. Okay, so here's a single, actually this is a good example of a single page post. If I click here, here's my multiple page post. But if I click here on a single page, I want to utilize that new sidebar ad that we just did. Ultimatum makes it really simple, and here's how we do it. There's something called assign layouts, and again, this is right inside your layout interface. I select and assign layouts, and then software comes down to choices. Based on these choices, I want to pick the layout called version B. Now, do I want to activate this page when I search? No. Based on these choices, when do you want to activate this? I want to activate this for a single post. Now, I can do this a couple of times as an example. I can basically say, yeah, let's do it for a single post and also do it for a post category. Now, I would have to do this in two separate exercises. So let me do that. I'm going to say, let's make this for single post. And it puts single post right there. And also, let's go back into here and say, look, I want to bring up this version 2 layout in the event that I do a category as well. Done, finished over. So watch how this works. This is really exciting stuff, and that's what makes this theme so incredible, and it only gets better. You know, I've been with the theme for about 3 years now, and it gets better all the time. The new release 2.6 is you know, it's way ahead of any other theme framework that's out there. So now if I go back to my Ultimatum theme site, okay, so there's my basic posts, all my multiple posts. But if I pick any of these single posts, it's going to take me to that single page. And therefore, to the right, I would have my little ad space. Now, for whatever reason, that ad space is not coming up. Let me just take a look at this. Now, apparently, your humble narrator, Robert's not walking and chewing gum at the same time because I made a little bit of a typo here. That's SRC, as in source. That's what it should be, source, not SER, as I was explaining it to you and typing at the same time. So now if I go back to save layout and I go back to view my site and I pick a single page post, say that 5 times fast, and to the right you will see my little display ad. Now if you want to add HTML hyperlink to that ad or coupon links to that ad, etc., it's a very simple thing to be able to do. Now here's what I want to share with you, which is really, really cool, and this is the thing that makes not only the Ultimatum theme very, very SEO friendly, but also if you want to capitalize and monetize this. So let's say as an example, and to be lazy, I'm just going to copy and paste this for a second so I get the code exactly right so I don't have to talk and chew gum at the same time. So let's say I wanted to do a new layout. So let's go back to our, and let's go and duplicate this original layout again. Let's clone that. And let's edit that. And let's call this full width add bottom post. Now, you're really going to get a kick out of this. What I'd like to do is this. Every time I go to a page that has a single post, at the bottom of the post, I want to put an ad. Okay? Now, there's different types of plugins. I talk about in my All Access course of how you can do a rotating ad banner and things like this, but I want you to walk before you can run. Now, you have 2 choices on this. I could insert another row, or I can just snag that and put that right underneath there. So I'm just going to go to my text and drag that right underneath my loop. Now if you want to put it above or below, it's up to you. And I'm just going to paste. Now the only thing I'm going to do here that's going to be different is I'm going to save those changes for a second, and that's a horizontal ad. So what I want to do is put a vertical ad. So I'm going to go over to my other window, go back to this vertical ad here. We're going to edit that. And we're simply going to take the URL for that and put it right here. So I'm just going to substitute this information right there for my new horizontal ad and save the changes. Okay, now let's say that I want this to come up anytime that there's going to be a single post. Well, if you recall the way that this is set up, that's not going to happen. So as an example, if I go back to my page, okay, so let me just clue you in on this. Right now, I made a brand new layout that I cloned. And on the bottom of every time I hit a post, I want to see that horizontal ad across the bottom. So I come up here and I select, and that's not happening. Well, why isn't that happening? Well, because if you recall a few minutes ago, I said, hey, if you have a single post under the assigned layout, I said bring up that particular post, that particular layout. So in this particular case, I don't want that to come up. Okay, I want this one to come up. So I'm going to get rid of that. Just hit the X key. Now I'm going to go back to assign layout and say anytime that I have a single post, I want to bring up my ad at the bottom of the post. Pretty cool. So now the single post ad is going to bring up this, but my category ad is going to bring up that, or however way you want to set this up. It's really, really this intuitive, but it's my objective and my job to share with you how the program thinks. So now if I come up here again and view my site, again, here's my multiple posts, my multiple pages. If I read more about, I want to read more about headers post. So let's go and do that. So if I go to headers post, right there at the bottom of the post is my ad. Now here's an important step. You'll notice that this is kind of smashing right up against that. So here's a simple way we can fix that. I'm going to go back into edit layout, which will take us right back into the layout that we were just at. Let me explain that again. Let me go back here for a second. I'm going to go back under edit layout, and it's going to bring up this layout because that's the page I'm on right now. So I go back to edit layout, and here's what I want to do. I can basically create some simple CSS rules. I'm going to click right here, and I'm simply, based on these choices, going to do some margin and padding, and I'm going to say at the bottom of each widget, because here I have a widget. Let's understand something. I have my WordPress widget and I have my text widget. So at the bottom of the widget, let's just put, say, 20 pixels of space there so it's not smashing up against it. I save the changes, I save the layout, so therefore when I go back to view site, it's not smashing up against the bottom when I select a single post. Actually, if you want to put a little bit more information, if you want to put more stuff in there, I guess we could if we want to put more space. But that's the basic idea. So what I suggest you guys do, if you really want to get good at working with WordPress, the Ultimatum theme is the absolute drop-dead best favored. I can't say enough great things about it. As we discovered in previous videos, it's very, very flexible. And as we will do in my full access course, which by the way comes with software, if you select on templates, look at what I can do here. I can actually go and make my own custom style, which will go into great detail. We're not going to do that right now. So what I'm trying to share with you is, if you decide that for whatever reason, let's go back to our layouts for a second. If you're looking through these different layouts and nothing in here, actually my mistake on that, I need to go here. So you go to insert a row, and even though there's a lot of choices in here, you're going, well, nothing in here really floats my boat. I want something that's sort of close, but not really. That's when you go back and make your own custom layout. Now, in addition to that, I go into great detail on doing your different multiple device layouts for Galaxy, for smartphones, for iPads, for iPhones, etc., etc. It's a complete course. Now, if you know anything about my training, I was, until very recently, I left in April of 2014, I was the absolute #1 best-selling WordPress, Adobe software, and Google SEO on Udemy.com. I was for the past 2 years. I decided to leave them and focus on my own portal. So if you really want to get the goods on how to squeeze the sponge, incidentally, not only was I the best-selling instructor on Udemy.com, but I was also the highest rated. And also my courses are a little bit more expensive than others, but it was worth every dime. So if you're going to have good courses, they're good rated as well. So thank you very much for being here. Definitely do yourself a favor and sign up for my all-access Ultimatum theme course. In fact, sign up for everything that I do. If you need web hosting, if you need domain names, I also offer that as well. I'm here to help you every step of the way. I'm very accessible. Once you become a student of mine, I will give you Skype access, which is really important. So if you're, I happen to be in New York City, so if you're in another part of the world, you can Skype me and I will help you every step of the way. I take my training very seriously. More importantly, I take my valued students very seriously. I'm 55 years old. I've been doing this for 27 years. So if you do the math, I actually didn't even touch my first computer until I was actually the fall of my 26th year, 1987. I turned 28 that year, but I was actually 27 at the time. So if there's a better way, and here's another thing I want to share with you before we go. You want to spend half your day searching through YouTube for this or that, the most cutting edge. That's what I do. I'm a professional, okay? That's what I do. I want to share the best techniques, and that's what training is all about. Technique. It's not about, I can read a book or I can watch somebody's video for free. Well, good luck with that. Technique is all about good training. Good training comes down to great technique. So the answer is, do you want to spend $12 learning how to play the guitar from your neighbor's son, or do you want to learn from Jimi Hendrix? Do you want to learn the technique and how to master things one step at a time? More importantly, I get you to think about how the software thinks very intuitively. So hopefully these free series of videos have convinced you enough to say, hey, I need to get off my butt and make some money, and I need to basically capitalize on Robert's courses. Thank you very much for being here. Enjoy the day. Carpe diem.